Before taking his own life on April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler and his mistress Eva Braun burned all their documents, photographs, everything. Hitler wanted nothing to be left behind. At that time, no one knew what happened in the bunker before Hitler's death. But now, after 70 years, thanks to a French officer, Commandant Raymond Rose, who is no more in this world, and a private tutor, some new political and personal documents of Hitler have come to light. These unique documents, which have come to light for the first time, give us an opportunity to understand in more detail some important moments of Hitler's last days. What was the atmosphere in the bunker? Why did Hitler marry Eva Braun just 24 hours before his death? Which of Hitler's close associates betrayed him in the last 10 days of his life? When was the decision taken in which he planned to take his own life, and most importantly, what was that thing due to which the Allied forces came to know that this dead body is of Hitler? After Hitler's death, everyone was trying to see and understand the bunker. On November 25, 1945, Commandant Raymond Rose, who was a French officer, went inside the bunker. There were 26 stairs to go inside the bunker, which led to a dark room. There he saw a dark and dirty room where there were scattered papers, upside-down furniture, and candle wax everywhere. Rose found some documents which shed new light on Hitler's last days. These documents show that Hitler was firm on his decision till the end, and he was looking for victory for himself even in his death. Just 10 days before Hitler's death, the dream of Nazi Germany, which was once seen to rule the world, had now become just a dream. Hitler's empire, which was once one of the most powerful empires in the world and which was a thorn in the throat of the Western powers, was now counting its last moments. Berlin, which was Hitler's dream and the center of power, had become a heap of rubble. There was destruction, fear, and death everywhere. Bombs of the Allied forces were raining everywhere, and the Red Army was just 100 kilometers away. Hitler, who was about to become the target of his own prey, was now hidden in the darkness of a bunker which was built 7 meters below the ground near the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. This was no ordinary bunker, but it was made very strong and bomb-proof according to the design of Albert Speer, who was Hitler's personal architect. It was built in 1936. But then in 1943 and 1944, after the Allied bombings became more dangerous, it was made even stronger. This bunker was called in German. It was called the Führer bunker. Fu means leader. That is, leader's bunker. This was the bunker where Adolf Hitler, who dreamed of ruling the whole world, was hiding, and it was here that he spent the last days of his life. The atmosphere of the bunker was very depressing. Silence, thick concrete walls, cold and damp atmosphere. Darkness ruled. This bunker was like a maze, with small corridors and rooms where one felt suffocated. This bunker had a private space of 3 rooms for Hitler, one of which was a meeting room where he held meetings twice a day for his military operations. There was a small room for Eva Braun, who was his mistress, and both of them also had a shared bathroom. The atmosphere of this bunker was full of depression and fear. Being underground, there was a mechanical ventilation system for air, which kept making noise all the time. This noise was caused by the wind. It was not just a physical discomfort, but also a mental torture for the people living here in the last 10 days. Hitler was not only physically broken, but also mentally. He was suffering from Parkinson's disease, which causes hand tremors. To hide his disease, he would often keep his left hand in his pocket or keep it in such a position that the other person would not be able to find it. In the last 10 days, his hand would constantly tremble, and he would also have difficulty in burning. Doctors said that in the last 10 days, Hitler's face had become so pale and tired that he started looking 10 to 15 years older than his age. During these days, whatever officers met him were shocked to see his deteriorating health condition. Even Hitler's personal doctor Theodor Morell, who was present in the bunker, would give him glucose and vitamin injections daily. But all this was not enough to improve his health. Hitler losing control over his hand was the biggest proof of his declining morale. The routine was extremely boring. Every morning there was a military meeting in which his generals would warn him about the situation in Berlin. The news of Hitler gradually losing control over Berlin was frustrating. Distrust was part of Hitler's nature. meaning he did not trust anyone easily. This was the reason that even in his last days, he was worried that one of his generals might betray him, and in reality, something similar happened later. In the last days, when everyone was thinking of escaping from the bunker, Eva Braun supported Hitler. Eva Braun was Hitler's 13-year-old mistress. They were not married, but she still lived with Hitler in the bunker. Experts say that it was Eva Braun's stubbornness to stay with Hitler in the bunker, and perhaps this was the reason for Hitler's weakness. Eva was a romantic and emotional girl who wanted to stay with Hitler till the end. Some letters of Eva were found which she had written to her friends. Only after reading these letters could we get to know something about Hitler and Eva's private life. The purpose of Eva's life was to stay with Hitler. In one of her letters, she had written that this place is very scary, but I am happy here because Hitler is with me. Eva's daily routine inside the bunker was very limited. She would often spend time in her room arranging her photographs or sometimes drinking coffee with Hitler. But one thing that can be understood from her letter is that Eva Braun was feeling very lonely. This letter not only shows Eva's love and loyalty, but also shows the fear and loneliness inside her. If we talk about the situation outside the bunker, then in the last 10 days, Berlin has become a battlefield. Allied bombers were dropping bombs on Berlin every day and every night. The Red Army, i.e., the military of the Soviet Union, was fighting Hitler's army on the Berlin border, a few kilometers away from the bunker. Of course, Hitler's army had 900 tanks and about 5 lakh German soldiers to protect Berlin at that time. But despite all this, the forces of Nazi Germany were melting. Hitler, who had dreamt of ruling here for 1,000 years, was now failing miserably. The people of Berlin were trying to save their lives by hiding in bunkers and under roofs. But on the other hand, only Nazi propaganda and music were being heard on the radio. Soon, the Red Army soldiers captured Berlin. German forces were defeated on all sides on the outskirts of Berlin. A German soldier said that when he came back to Berlin, he found it difficult to recognize the city because there were heaps of rubble everywhere. This was the time when the German army also started seeing the end of Hitler's leadership. A few days before Hitler's death, another drama unfolded. Hermann Göring, who was the chief of the German Air Force in the Nazi regime, expressed his intention that he wanted to gain power. Hermann Göring was a close associate of Hitler, to whom Hitler had given various positions. In 1933, Hitler made him in charge of the Air Ministry. In 1935, he was made the commander-in-chief of the German Air Force. In 1936, he was made in charge of the 4-year plan, which was made to boost Germany's economy. And then in 1941, Hitler gave Hermann Göring the position of his general and deputy, i.e., after Hitler, Göring had to take control. Göring believed that Hitler was trapped in Berlin, and now the control of leadership should come in his hands. He sent a telegram to Hitler in which he wrote that if Hitler cannot take any more decisions, then he should transfer the official leadership. Seeing this telegram, Hitler, who was already very depressed, became furious. He removed Göring from all positions and declared him a traitor and issued orders to arrest him. Later, Hermann Göring was arrested and sentenced to death, but he took his own life by consuming poison just a few hours before his death. On one hand, the Red Army was entering Berlin, and on the other hand, Hitler's close associate betrayed him. This entire environment was forcing Hitler to do things which he had never even thought of. It was April 29, 1945. Hitler called the people around him and said that the time had come. At 1 p.m. At 3 p.m., he officially married his longtime mistress Eva Braun. This marriage took place in the same bunker in front of 2 or 3 officers. After the marriage, he called his secretary and asked her to write his will, in which Hitler had written that I and my wife Eva have chosen death. Death is better for us than the shame of surrender. Unfortunately, this marriage lasted only for 1 day. On April 30th, 1945, at 3 p.m., Hitler poisoned his dog named Bloody and went to the room with Eva. Exactly 24 hours after the marriage, both of them ended their lives in the room itself. Hitler took his life with a pistol, while Eva embraced death by eating a cyanide capsule. The bunker staff already had instructions, so they took the bodies of both of them to the courtyard and set them on fire. Hitler did not want to leave any trace behind. Before dying, both of them destroyed the documents and their bodies. He burnt his photographs and finally ordered to burn himself. All this shows that Hitler did not want to surrender himself to his prey even till his death. He ordered his body burned so that the Soviet soldiers could not capture his body and show it to the world as a trophy. When the Red Army reached the bunker, they found only burnt remains, but it was found out only after a lot of investigation that it was Hitler's. When they took samples of Hitler's teeth, Hitler hated going to the dentist. Hence, he had got a very unique gold bridge made which covered his broken teeth. This bridge helped in identifying Hitler's body.